नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नाम श्रेष्ठं मनुमपि सचीपुत्रमत्र स्वरूपम् रूपं तस्याग्रजमुरुपुरीं माधुरीं गोष्ठवाटीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधवाश्यां प्राप्तो यस्य प्रतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि। कृष्णादन्यमजानत क्षणमपि स्वप्नेऽपि विश्वेश्वरे तस्मिन् भक्तिमहैतुकीं विदधतु हृत्कायवाग्भिः सदा। श्रीलान् सद्गुणपुञ्जकेलिनिलयान् प्रेमावतारानहं वन्दे भागवतानि मामनुलवम् मूर्ध्नानि प्रत्यक्षितौ आजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावदातौ संकीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजवरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ। जयतां सुरतौ पंगोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्बोजौ राधा मदनमोहनौ। नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। So we are discussing the Canto 8 and here is the overview. So the first chapter we have already discussed the prayers of Swayambhu Manu and the four Manus. So as there was a request from Parikshit Maharaj to explain about the Manvantaras, Swayambhu Manu started explaining the four Manus, and in the fourth Manvantara, Sukadeva Goswami has explained that Lord has saved the elephant Gajendra from the crocodile. Based on that, Parikshit Maharaj had a question to explain more details about that pastime. So it's chapter 2 to 4. It followed the story of Gajendra as well as it has explained about the fifth Manu. And so today's chapter 8.5, it explains, it started with details about the fifth and sixth Manu and how the demigods are having or suffering and what they are going to do in the as a cause of next steps, whom they are going to reach out and what is the next pastime. So the next pastime would be the Samudra Mantana pastime, followed by again Sukadeva Goswami continues about seventh Manu, and the seventh Manu is the current Manu, and next the future Manvantaras, and later Vamana pastime will be discussed, and the last chapter will be about Matsya Avatara. So this is an high level of Canto 8. And context as well as connection to the previous chapter is Sukadeva Goswami has explained the first four Manvantaras. Gajendra Moksham Leela happened in fourth Manvantara. Sukadeva Goswami will now continue to describe about the later Manvantaras as discussed. And section specific to this chapter, the first 10 verses explain about fifth and sixth Manvantaras. This has been discussed. And 11 to 14th, Parikshit Maharaj inquires about Samudra Manthan. So in the sixth Manvantara, which is the Chakshusha Manvantara, the pastime, because in each Manvantara we have the set of attributes for each Manvantara, and the Lord is known as Ajita in this Manvantara, and his pastime as mentioned as the churning of milk ocean. So whenever or when Parikshit Maharaj heard this, he inquired more about this Samudra Manthan. We will see whatever his questions and what are the next steps followed. And next section, the defeated demigods approach Lord Brahma. This section we will see today, and followed by Lord Brahma's prayers unto the Supreme Lord. So whenever there is a problem for the demigods, they have that hierarchy on whom to reach out. So first, all the demigods, if they have a problem, they will try to go to Lord Brahma. And again, Lord Brahma will take them to Lord Vishnu if he is not able to resolve the problem. So having heard that Lord churned the ocean of milk and held the Mandara mountain also in the sixth mantra, Parikshit Maharaj has these 4 questions. What are those? Why and how did Lord Vishnu churn the milk ocean? So why he did the churn the milk ocean and how? And why did he stay in the water as tortoise and hold up Mandara mountain? So what is the reason why the Lord went into the water as tortoise to hold the Mandara mountain? This was another question. And how did the demigods obtain nectar? And what other things were produced by the churning of milk ocean? So these were the 4 questions. Why and how he churned, and why did he went into the water, and how did demigods obtain nectar, and what are the other things while churning the milk ocean were produced. So this was the 4 questions. In response to this, Sukadeva Goswami starts this section. So we are reading 8, 5, 15 and 16 verses. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chikshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Sukha Uvacha Yada Yuddhe Surair-deva Badhyamanai Sitayudaihi Gatasavo Nipatita Notisteran Smabhurishaha Yadha Durvasha Shapena Sendra Lokastrayondrapa Nishrikshaschaabhivams Tatra Nisheshurijyadya Kriyaha. Sukadeva Goswami said, when the Asuras with their serpent weapons severely attacked the demigods in a fight, many of the demigods fell and lost their lives. Indeed, they could not be revived. At that time, O king, the demigods had been cursed by Durvasa Muni. The 3 worlds were poverty-stricken, and therefore ritualistic ceremonies could not be performed. The effects of this were very serious. So Sukadeva Goswami started narrating the pastime of Samudra Manthan. It all started with the Asuras. They attacked the demigods, and demigods fell and lost their lives. So here we might have a question. Demigods were representatives of Lord, and why they are killed by Asuras? So it is like they are representatives of the Lord, but whenever there is a requirement of Lord, when he needs to establish some principles, then it is all part of the Lord's game. What exactly happened at that point? The demigods were cursed by Durvasa Muni. That is why the Asuras were able to take over the demigods. In other cases, generally all the time demigods will win over Asuras. But in this case, because the demigods have been cursed by Durvasa Muni, they were able to win over demigods. And why exactly Durvasa Muni cursed would be the next question. So we will see why Durvasa Muni cursed. So when Durvasa Muni was going along, he saw Indra with his elephant Airavata. And at that point, because Indra is the king of demigods, as a respect, Durvasa Muni has offered his garland to him. So, and that garland, Indra became, because he was thinking that he was the king of demigods, he did not, or by his matter of pride, he has just taken that garland, and without giving it due respects, he gave that garland to his elephant Airavata. And Airavata, as usual, took that, or not as usual, basically Airavata did not recognize the importance of that garland, and it has thrown it on the floor and started walking on it. This made Durvasa Muni very angry. So in general also Durvasa Muni is very angry, but with this action of Indra and Airavata, Durvasa Muni became too much angry and cursed Indra to have this poverty stricken. So with this curse, the demigod's strength became less, and whenever the demigod's strength became less, asuras will take advantage and try to capture the heavenly planets. So the takeaways of this section or this verse is, to be extremely opulent in materialistic advancement is sometimes very, very risky. Now, when we see that Indra, he is thinking that he is the topmost person who is managing everything. That is why he did not give proper respects to the sages. So whenever one is enjoying at fully or extremely opulent materialistic advancement, then we might forget about what is our actual duty. And that time, at that point, we might do some offenses which will be haunting us all the time. So here Sukadeva Goswami describes as Dana Durmadanda. So too much wealth makes one blind, because if one is too much wealthy, right, most of his time will be going away by securing of whatever he has collected. So in order to safeguard his wealth, most of his time goes. And because he is extremely opulent, he will be having many friends, materialistic friends, because if you have more money, you will get more friends. Then again, you need to have the relationships with them and deal all the materialistic activities. So the more wealth we have, the more we will be bound with the materialistic activities. So Sukadeva Goswami says, Dhana Durmadanda. Too much wealth makes one blind. And later, they do not care about anyone. And by this attitude, one might commit offenses to the great personalities. So we might not see the people like sages, but in this Kali Yuga, we are not sure that who is a great Vaishnava and who is a normal person, because everyone might look similar, but there will be differences in their understanding and level of spirituality. So if we have too much wealth, we might not care about all the people around, and we might commit offenses to some great personalities. What happens if we commit offenses? We will fall down in our path of bhakti, and again it will be very, very tough for us to come back to the line of devotion where we will be able to find the solution of this cycle of birth and death. So even this happens to Indra, then what to speak of our normal people? So this happened even to Indra in his heavenly kingdom, and what to speak of others in this material world. Nishamyaitat suragana Mahendra Varunadaya Nadyagachan Swayam Mantrair Mantrayantu Vinischitam Tato Brahmashabam Jagmur Meror Murdani Sarvashaha Sarvam Vignapayam Chakruhu Pranatan Parameshtine. Lord Indra, Varuna, and other demigods, seeing their lives in such a state, consulted among themselves, but they could not find any solution. So first they all discussed among themselves, and they were not able to find any solution. Then all the demigods assembled and went together to the peak of Sumeru mountain. There, in the assembly of Lord Brahma, they fell down to offer Lord Brahma their obeisances, and they informed him all the incidents that has taken place. So in the Shastras or in the scriptures, it is described where the Lord stays and where his representative stays. So in Canto 5, it has been described like Lord Brahma has his place, or if we can say his office, on the top of Sumeru mountain. So in this world, Lord Brahma stays in this Bhuloka. Lord Brahma stays on the top of Meru mountain with 8 other devatas. So here all the devatas went together to the peak of that Meru mountain, which is Sumeru. And in the assembly of Lord Brahma, everyone paid their obeisances and informed what happened. So the curse of Daksha and the attack of Asuras. So they have informed everything to Lord Brahma. Savilokendra Vayabdin Nissatvan Vigata Prabhan Lokan Amangala Prayan Asuranayata Vibhu Samahitena Manasa Samsmaran Purusham Param Uvachotbullavadano Devan Sabhagavan Paraha. Upon seeing that the demigods were bereft of all influence, strength, and that the 3 worlds were consequently devoid of auspiciousness, and upon seeing that the demigods were in awkward positions, whereas all the demons were flourishing, the Lord Brahma, who is above all the demigods, who is the most powerful, concentrated his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, being encouraged, he became bright-faced and spoke to demigod as follows. So here we can see that the demigods are bereft of their strength and influence. Why is it happening? Because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has already mentioned, he has defined the cycle of this reciprocation of demigods and the normal living entities in this Bhuloka. So there is a cycle of this maintenance in this material world, where if we follow the Varnashrama and do proper sacrifices, the demigods will get their food. And being pleased with that sacrifices, demigods will again give back whatever the fruits are required for the living beings in order to continue their Varna and Ashrama. Now, with the curse of Daksha, when the demons took over, the normal people were not able to do their sacrifices properly. And when the sacrifices have stopped, the food for the demigods is stopped, and they get, or they are devoid of their strength. Now they became weak, and as a consequence, there is no auspiciousness, and all the demigods were in awkward position. And when the demigods are weakened, automatically, or as a vice versa, the demons will flourish. And all the demigods, as we see, they went to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma understood the situation, and because he is not able to solve, he is trying to find out the solution on what he can do. So he started meditation, because Lord Brahma is a secondary creator of this universe. He is trying to reach out to that primary creator from whom everything has emanated. So he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus being encouraged. So the Lord, so when he got connected to the Supreme Lord, he became bright-faced and later spoke to the demigods. Aham bhavo yamato suradayo manushyatiragdrumagharma jatayaha yasyavataram shakala visarjita vrajama sarve sharanam tamavyayam. So Lord Brahma said, I, Lord Shiva, all of you demigods, demons, the living entities born of perspiration, the living beings born of eggs, the trees, the plants sprouting from the earth, and living beings, entities born from the embryos. all come from the Supreme Lord, from his incarnation of Rajoguna. So Rajoguna is Lord Brahma, the Gunavatara. And from the great sages, rishis, who are part of me, let us therefore go to the Supreme Lord and take shelter of his lotus feet. So here he is saying, every one of us, so myself, Lord Shiva, and all of you demigods, so and the demons, living entities born of perspiration. So there are three kinds of uh, living beings. One is the people who born of perspiration, and the trees and plants which sprouted from the earth, and the living entities which were born from embryos and eggs. So they all come from the Supreme Lord. So Lord Brahma knows that everything was created by the Supreme Lord. And here, from his incarnation, because there are Gunavataras. So we have already discussed what are the different avatars of the Lord. So we discussed about Leela Avatara, Guna Avatara, and other things. Here, Lord creates the Trimurtis, who are known as Gunavataras. And in that, we have the segregation. And in the Sattva-guna, Lord Vishnu himself takes care. Rajoguna is taken care by Lord Brahma. So in this sense, even Lord Brahma is a secondary creator. And he's saying, me, Lord Shiva, everyone, let us go and take shelter of his lotus feet. Nayasya vadyo nacharaksha rakshaniyo nopekshaniya dharaniya pakshaha tatapi sarga sthiti samyamardham datte rajasattvatamasi kale. For the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no one to be killed, no one to be protected, no one to be neglected, and no one to be worshipped. Nonetheless, for the sake of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, according to time, he accepts different forms as incarnations, either in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So here he is clearly stating that we all are demigods. So we might get killed, we need protection, but that Supreme Personality of Godhead, for him, there is no one to be killed, no one to be protected, and no one to be neglected, no one to be worshipped. So Supreme Personality of Godhead, no need to worship anyone, because he is the cause of all causes. And as in the previous verse, it is said, let us all go and take the shelter or surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is also part of the system which Lord has set up. As we can understand from the Bhagavad Gita, the last verse which Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66 is Sarva Dharman Parityarje Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. So he says, take shelter of only me, Mam Ekam. So that is what now all the demigods are doing. So they are all collectively going to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to take shelter. And in this verse, it is said, like, Supreme Personality of Godhead is equal to everyone. So we have already discussed in the past time of Parikshit or Rajasuya Yajna, where it started with the section of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not partial and he is equal to everyone. And this is also confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 29th verse, where he says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu namedveshto sina priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. So you might ask, sir, Lord is equal to everyone, but sometimes he favors devotees. That is what he is confirmed here. He said, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to everyone. So here Krishna clearly states, I am equal to everyone. I don't show partiality. I envy no one. So, but here he puts a clause saying, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend. He is in me and I am also friend to him. So he says, whoever is doing the devotional service, he is dear to me. That is what Krishna is saying. So in the first statement, he says, I am equal to everyone. I don't have partiality, but I give opportunity for all the people to render service. But whoever renders services to me is a friend to me. So it is up to us whether we want to make the Lord as a friend or not. So he is equal. He has given equal opportunity to everyone. So although the Lord is impartial, he gives special attentions to his devotees because of this. E bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. So Lord Brahma, what is he saying? He's saying now it is the time to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Lord Krishna appeared and left his instructions, which we just discussed, in the form of Bhagavad Gita, in which he asked all living entities to surrender to him, Sarvadharman Parityartya. Since the beginning of Kali Yuga, so at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita, and the beginning of Kali Yuga, people were not able to understand how to surrender. So people have practically been unable to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, the Lord, because he is so merciful, he took the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just after 500 years when Kali Yuga started. And why he took that form? In order to teach the entire world on how to surrender to that Lord and how to practice devotional service, how to do Shravanam, how to do Kirtanam. So, because the Lord is so merciful, he came himself in the disguise of devotee in order to make sure that we understand how to surrender to that Supreme Lord. And the way or the thing of surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna means achieving complete purification. So that is the only way in order to get out of this material world. That is why the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared in this world to teach the devotional service. Why? Because Kali Yuga is full of contamination. Because this is the last Yuga, there will be the dharma will be gradually reduced, and at the end of Kali Yuga there will be no dharma, and everyone will be cleared by Lord Kalki. So Kali Yuga is full of contamination, which is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 3rd chapter and 51 verse, which says, Kaler doshani derajan asti heko mahan gunan Kirtanat eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So here it is mentioned, there is one dosha, one problem in the Kali Yuga. And there is one great thing also in Kali Yuga. Hasti eko mahaguna, one attribute which is very much great. What is it? It is Kirtanat eva Krishnasya. So one need to do the chanting of the holy name. So Kirtana, one need to glorify the names. And whose names? Can we take any of the demigods' name and chant? No, it says Kirtanat eva Krishnasya. So only the Lord Krishna's name, Hari Kirtana. And what happens? Mukta Sangha Param Vrajet. So if we do the Kirtana of that Supreme Lord, then we will be able to cross over this material world and we will reach the highest planet, which is the Supreme Planet, the abode of the Lord. So this Kali Yuga is full of contamination, and in this Kali Yuga, the only way or the only great attribute which we can take advantage is chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna, and getting back to the Godhead is the only thing which we can help ourselves. Sri Sukha Uvacha Itya इत्याभ्यस्य सुरान् वेदाः सह देवैर अरिन्दमा अजितस्य पदं साक्षात् जगाम तमसः परम्. O Maharaj Parikshit, subduer of all enemies, after Lord Brahma finished speaking to the demigods, he took with him to the abode of Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is beyond this material world. The Lord's abode is on an island called Shvetadvipa, which is situated in the ocean of milk. So, here Lord Brahma is saying, so he took all the demigods and he reached a place called Shvetadvipa. So earlier we discussed like demigods all went to the peak of Sumeru mountain. So here we need to understand is everything is described in the Shastras. So who resides where and whose position is what and what one can give, what benediction one can give. So everything is described in the Shastras. So this places like Lord where he stays, Lord Brahma where he stays, Lord Shiva where he stays, everything is described in the 5th canto when there is a discussion happened about the material creation and the attributes of Bhumandala. So whenever the Priyavrata has divided this Bhumandala into 7 different divisions, at that point it is described like where the Lord stays, where Lord Shiva stays, where Lord Brahma stays. So as those information, the demigods understood that Lord Brahma stays at the peak of Sumeru mountain, and now the Lord Brahma knows that Lord Vishnu stays in the island called Svetadvipa, which is situated near the Milk Ocean. So all Brahma took all the demigods and reached the point of that Milk Ocean and the island called Svetadvipa to find out the solution for their problem. Tatradrisha swarupasya swarupaya shruta purvaya vai prabhu stutim abhruta daivi bhir giribhistva avahitendriyaha. There were at Svetadvipa, Lord Brahma offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he had never seen the Supreme Lord, simply because Lord Brahma had heard about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from Vedic literature. With a fixed mind, he offered prayers as written or approved by Vedic literature. So, Lord Brahma offered the prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the important thing here is Lord Brahma has never seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still he has that faith that Lord resides here and he can solve my problem. So that is the most important thing. From where Lord Brahma understood, it is from the Pramanas, from the authorized scriptures. So we also need to have that faith and determination so that we can find solutions to all our problems. So the importance of this hearing and glorifying the Lord. So Lord Brahma and other demigods cannot directly see the Lord, but in their prayers are heard by the Lord and the needful action is taken. So as discussed, Lord Brahma and other demigods, they cannot directly see the Lord, because if one needs to see the Lord, they need to have that divine eyes which is given by the Lord himself. As we can see in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna requests Lord Krishna, can you please show me your universal form? At that point, Lord Krishna says, you cannot see me with these eyes. Hence, I will give you Divya Chakshuhu. So he says, I will give you that divine eyes by which you can see me and you can, you can see me and you can experience my opulence. So that happened in Bhagavad Gita, where Lord himself told, I will give you that divine eyes. So similarly, no one can see the Lord directly, but everyone can see the Lord through the Shastras, and they can understand the Lord through the Shastras. And once they understand, they will understand that Kirtanadeva Krishnasya. So they will start praying to the Lord. That is what is happening here. So whenever one prays to the Lord, that prayers will be heard by the Lord and the needful action will be taken by the Lord. That is what is guaranteed. And the second thing, it is for the conditioned souls like us. If it is not possible to see someone directly, we can hear about him from the authentic sources. So where the Lord stays, what he can give the benediction, or where the demigod stays, what benedictions they can give, where the Lord is, why we need to surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Everything is already written. But if we try to go around non-authentic scriptures, we will be directed in a wrong way. So we need to identify what are the authentic scriptures, what are the authentic sampradayas, and in those sampradayas we need to find the right acharyas and take shelter of them, so that we can hear the authentic information from authentic sources. Because our sensory perception is always incomplete, because we are not complete. Only the Supreme Lord is complete. All the other living entities, everything is incomplete, because we are temporary and we are incomplete. So therefore, whatever we create will be temporary, and therefore, even if we see God, we may not be able to understand him. So because our sensory perception is always incomplete, if we don't hear about the Lord from the authentic sources, even if the Lord comes and stands in front of us, we will not be able to identify that he is that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because if we don't know that Lord Krishna has the peacock feather, he has a flute, and there will be cows around him, or there will be the cow herdman, or all his other attributes. Now, when you saw a similar kind of person in this material world, you might think that this person is doing some drama, or he is not like one of us, and just move forward. But if we hear about the Lord from authentic sources, then we will be trying to identify that here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in all of our activities, we can feel the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not only like we can directly see and experience. We can experience the Supreme Lord in all of our activities. So even if we cannot see the God, we may not be able to understand him. So that is why we need to hear from authentic sources to understand. So to take an example, right, whenever Lord Krishna came to this world as he is, now at that point, there were different people around him. Pandavas were there, the Kauravas were there. So Pandavas, because they heard the information from the right scriptures, they were able to identify that Krishna is that Supreme Lord. But the Kauravas were also present at the same time. The Krishna was standing in front of them also. But at that point, they were not able to identify that Krishna is that Supreme Lord. So that is the importance of hearing about the Lord. So one needs to understand about Lord and his activities, and so that is hearing is that Shravanam, and always glorify the Lord and his names, Kirtanam. So even though Brahma had not seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead before, he was confident that Lord was there in Shvetadvipa. So he has that faith in scriptures. So we also need to have that faith in the words of the Lord. So in the words of the Lord are Bhagavad Gita. There, Lord gives all the information, why he comes and what he does and what is our duty. So we need to have that element of faith by which we can reach back to him, where Lord himself states that Brahma Bhuvanaloka Punar Avartinojna. So Lord says, from the topmost planet of Brahma to the lowest planet, there will be no happiness. So there will be that death and birth. But if you come to my planet, there will be no such thing. So we need to have that faith on that Supreme Personality of Godhead words and go back to him. And last thing is, prayers must be approved by Vedic literature, as indicated in this verse by the words Daivi Bir Gir Bihi. So we should not take any prayers from any of the corner of the scriptures, because scriptures have been written in accordance to satisfy all the three modes. So there are scriptures which glorify the Tamoguna, there are scriptures which glorify the Rajoguna. But the topmost scriptures are that which glorify the Sattvaguna, which glorify Lord Vishnu and his devotees. So there are various prayers in all these things, but if we need to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we need to find the prayers which are directed towards that Supreme Lord Vishnu, Supreme Lord Krishna. So these prayers are approved by Vedic literature. So we cannot just pick up some random prayers or to some random personality or any of the demigods. The prayers should be towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that will be the only solution. And it is not said by us, it is practically, so currently it is Lord Brahma is doing that in a practical way. So when demigods were not able to find their solution, they reached out to Brahma, and now Brahma is not able to find their solution. So he started to find the Lord, and the next set of verses are prayers to that Supreme Lord by Lord Brahma. So the next section will be the prayers of Lord Brahma. That is very much important, which we will discuss tomorrow. So today's summary is the demigods were defeated by the Asuras, and demigods have approached Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma, who is situated at the top of Sumeru mountain, he now took all the demigods and he started meditating, and he got connected to that Supreme Personality of Godhead by meditation, and he spoke to the demigods about the attributes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying, Lord is not partial to anyone. From him, everything got created. And now in the next verses, Lord Brahma will start praying to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by this, we will stop today's session as we are at the time. So if anyone has any questions, we can quickly take. Okay, so if no one has any questions, so tomorrow it would be a very important thing, because Lord Brahma is the topmost personality in this. He is the actually secondary creator of this universe. So let us see how he prays to that Supreme Personality of Godhead and what are the learnings which we can take from his prayers. So the most important thing in Bhagavatam is prayers of the devotees to that Supreme Lord. So let us all discuss the Lord Brahma's prayers tomorrow. Thank you all for joining in.